Improving your company's cash position. I don't want to say, I don't want to give you the impression that it's something easy and there's like three steps you can do. There are people that are very, very gifted, with financial management planning and that sort of thing. It's kind of like people that go to the gym, and you ask them, it's like, hey, how do I work out and get the right body and all that good stuff. And it's like, oh well, you just go to the gym, you just do these three things. It's never as simple to the people that are actually not skilled or not gifted in a particular area. So that said, looking at your cash position, the first thing that you have to do is you have to really understand your cash position. Meaning that you need to understand, your income, your expenses, how much money is coming into the business, how much is going out. Now, you also need to look at that from a cash perspective. So we look at it from an income and an expense perspective, and we look at our profit and loss statement, and we see that theoretical number at the bottom. But we also need to look at that from a cash flow perspective, looking at what money actually is coming into the company, what's going out. And it's really critical. It's really important to truly understand that, especially if you're an accrual-based company. Your accounting is accrual-based, which is where you're looking at, the periods in which certain things happen versus what the actual cash looks like. So that said, having a clear understanding of what your cash flow looks like is going to be, foundational to that. Okay, and then when you're looking at you're looking at your expenses. You're saying, okay, these are the expenses, this is when they hit, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that we did is we just started looking at where we could trim, because sometimes when you're getting software and you're getting this and that, you find that there are things that you're just not using, or just not using to the extent that it was designed for, or there's, less expensive alternatives. Sometimes sometimes that's quite the investment to change from one software to another, just depending on what we're talking about. But, in other cases, you're able to save, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, simply by just cutting back on certain things. The other end of that spectrum, though, is you've really got to take an honest look at your revenue and say, hey, does our company have enough revenue? If our company doesn't have enough revenue to improve our cash position, then we may need to make other changes, and that could be with personnel. Perhaps you've got a full-time personnel that needs to go part-time, or you have a part-time personnel, or a personnel that needs to be more of a freelancer that is just there when you need them to. Obviously you have your critical roles, and your critical roles do need to have a certain reliable presence in your organization. But perhaps there are people that you don't need to have around 24/7 that aren't really able to produce that return that you're looking for. Again, as I've said before, with every investment that you make, whether it's a person or a piece of equipment or software or whatever it is that you're putting into your organization, you have to think in terms of, what am I going to get out of this? How is this company going to be better off as a result of this particular resource that I've invested in? Okay, so if you're not getting that return, if things aren't looking in the direction that you need for it to look as a result of this investment, you need to make a decision on that, whether to reduce or divest of whatever that piece was. But the other end of that spectrum, of course, is how do you increase revenue? Okay, so we look at it from the real perspective. A, do we have a business? Can we drive our revenue in a predictable manner, where it allows to have some cash excess, some profit at the end of the day, or do we have more of a glorified hobby? Okay, if we have a business, then what we have in place is we have a way to drive revenue. We have a system, a process, tools in place that will consistently drive revenue into our companies. Okay, if we don't have that, we need to do that. We need to put that in place right away. That may be adding marketing, that may be adding a salesperson, that may be going out, shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing a whole bunch of networking. But we've got to do what we have to do in order to drive that revenue. Okay, and so at the end of the day, we're looking at it from a budgetary perspective. Okay, looking down the road, maybe we don't have that excess today, but looking down the road, we're going to increase revenue by 5%, 10%, 15%. Okay, in order to increase this revenue, it's going to cost us whatever that is. Obviously, ideally, we want a smaller number, but or reality, we want a smaller number. But what are we going to invest in order to make sure we can deliver? Once we're increasing our revenue, and of course, the end of that story is that profit. Okay, profit is going to be that extra cash that we want, that we need to have in the organization in order to improve our cash position. Okay, the other side of that, however, is sometimes we do take a loan, sometimes we do leverage a little bit. Okay, and so that is a way that will increase our cash position, but at the same time, we still need to have the reality check that this is an investment in our company. We're expecting a return. We're going to have to pay it back, et cetera, et cetera. These things have to be in place. This is, again, where cash flow planning is going to be really, really critical. My recommendation is, if this isn't something that you're comfortable with, something that you don't do well, to hire a professional that does this, because this is something that, where I've seen companies move positions significantly just by investing in someone, a fractional CFO, for example, that can help them really understand, make the right spending decisions, help them with driving revenue, holding their teams accountable, ensuring that they're getting a positive return on investment on the resources that they're investing in, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a waste. In the right person, it's certainly not a waste. So this is certainly something I would recommend. If you've got a different idea, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. Please do share. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.